Yes, hello and welcome to another episode of Voices of the Vic. As we know, it's international break, so me and Ben haven't got a game to dissect for you guys, but instead, we have got another ex-player interview. He joins the likes of Paul Robinson and Marlon King to be interviewed by us. I'm delighted to say we got Jordan Stewart on the podcast. Now, first things first, before we talk the football side of things, Jordan, how's coronavirus and lockdown and all that? How's that treating you over in California? You lucky bugger.
I would say lucky because you can't enjoy the sunshine. Well,
Well,
the good thing is you can. It's not being cold, so you can go outside more and like go on walks and go to the park with kids. But I think it's the same everywhere, right? It's like just you're trying to do as much as possible, as safely as possible. So that's all me and that's all me and my family have been trying to do. But yeah, I'm hoping I can get the vaccine soon, and then we can get back to some kind of normality or as close as possible.
yeah, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Now,
Get some fans in the stadiums.
oh, mate, it's been so horrible. And it's typical that we do bloody well this season and we can't be there to enjoy. I mean, I know, but
it's crazy that, like, because when I used to have preseason games and sometimes they've been stadiums and obviously there's no fans.
Yeah,
and just the vibe is not the same. So like doing that in proper games is like, it must be the worst.
Yeah, well, when it first started, it sort of felt like it was sort of had that pre-season vibe. I mean, we're lucky enough to some fans, they trialled it when the tier stages over here, some fans were able to go. And I know Ben was lucky enough, you were lucky enough to go to, was it 2 games, Ben, you went to in the end? Or
just the one game, so I was able to go to see Rotherham at home on a Tuesday night where only 2,000 allowed to go.
Rotherham on a Tuesday night sounds just cold. Just from the...
It was very cold. It was January as well, so it's
whenever you try to explain about like winter games, it's either like someone like Rotherham or like Blackpool away on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, man, definitely.
In November.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's start off with obviously your time at Watford. You joined in 2005 from Leicester City, and you was Aidy Boothroyd's first signing in the club. How did the move come about?
To be fair, it's a crazy story because I think I had a year left at Leicester City. Was playing, not all the time, in and out, and the new manager that came in to Leicester, what was his name now? Craig Levine or something. I can't remember his name. Scottish guy, but me and him didn't really connect from the off. And then I think he wanted to bring in his own kind of like players, which was fair enough. So I remember I was at my friend's house and I got a call from Aidy. And at that time I didn't know who Aidy was or anything like that. And he's like, oh yeah, Leicester's agreed a 125,000 transfer for you. So I was like, who's this? Sorry. And he's like, oh, it's Aidy Boothroyd. I was like, from what? He's like, oh, from right, I'm the manager at Watford. So I was like, can I ring you back? So I rang up my agent straight away. I was like, this guy, Aidy Boothroyd, just says Leicester's accepted a bid for me. So he's like, okay, leave it with me. Spoke to Leicester and then rang me back. He's like, yeah, they've accepted a bid. Why don't you just go and speak to him? And he was living in Bromsgrove, and obviously I was living in Birmingham. So we met at some hotel over in like Bromsgrove. So when I met him, and he's like, listen, you probably don't know much about me. I know you play left back. I just want you to attack. I don't worry about defending, just attack. If they score 4, we're gonna score 5. That's it. I'm gonna sign you 3 years. This is the contract. We're gonna like build a team, and we're just gonna just keep attacking. So obviously left back attacking, because at the time I was always trying to bomb on, and I think some coaches that I've played under before, it was obviously just stay at left back and kind of just be there and defend, which was not really me, especially coming from my past of like being a left winger and those kind of things. And so just hearing that, I was like, you know what, might as well. Leicester don't want me, so let's go and sign. I think at the time we was one of the favourites to go down to Division 1. So yeah, that was how the story of me signing. Then obviously started bringing in other signees.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Leicester actually finished 15th in the championship that season, whilst Watford finished 18th. So was it Craig Levine coming in and him not really fancying you, or you not really getting him, and then the call from Aidy just worked out at the right time for you?
I think Levine, like we just didn't get on for whatever reason. I maybe, and then we never had like an argument or anything. But you sometimes you know the vibe of a manager, right? Almost straight away. And then, like I said, he was bringing in his own players that he wanted to kind of like build around, which is fair enough. But for me, it was more. I would have rather like just had a conversation, and then he said, "Well, you're not in my plans. If anyone comes in for you, or if you decide that you want to leave, like do that rather than just getting a cold call from a manager, like just out of the blue, right?" So, but for me, it was more of like speak, because before that, I'd had managers that I've kind of not really had. You respected the manager, but didn't really have like a dialogue, like a Martin O'Neill's. Peter Taylor was probably the closest version of that. But previous managers was kind of like, they're the manager. You'd speak to like the assistant coach or anything, and that was kind of your bond towards what the manager was thinking. Whereas with 80, it was kind of the first time it seemed, even though he was the manager, he could still understand where I was coming from. So it was more the fact of 80 was the one that got me to Watford rather than Watford itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you mentioned there, obviously, there was quite a few players that come in, and I know Ben's question is going to sort of focus more on the individuals. But with yourself, you'd played a combined total of 38 games in the Premier League for Leicester between 99-2000 and 03-04 season. And I know you scored against Man City as well. Did you feel that you could bring some real know-how into the dressing room coming into sort of the unknown, really?
I think because I was still fairly young, and obviously had experience in the Premiership, but for me it was just like a new challenge. And like I said before, like having 80, like just kind of know that he's in my corner, like thinking, okay, cool, like our objective, and he's like, our objective is to get promoted, like not we'll build around and then kind of see where we're at. It was like, first, like this season we're trying to rebuild and we're trying to get promoted. So for me, I'm like, I'm all in. Like as soon as you tell me that, I'm all in. And obviously the stuff he was telling me during the meeting, I was like, okay, cool, I'm on board. And he mentioned a couple people that he was looking to sign. So I was like, so it's something new. Obviously Watford is known for like that family environment, kind of bit like Leicester. So at the end of the day, I was just like, cool, I'm all in. Let's do it. And obviously, did I expect us to get promoted that season? I'm not sure. I think when you start anywhere new, right, it's always that's what you're driving towards. But ultimately, there's, especially in Championship, there's so many games and so many variables. You lose like 3 games, like the positions is like 4 or 5 positions, and then same vice versa, right? If you win 3 or 4 games, you jump up like 4 or 5 spots. So I just knew how volatile the Championship was, and knew if we kind of got in that groove, then we could have more possibility of getting promoted.
We saw a few players coming in with like points to prove. Maybe we saw the likes of Marlon Keane to come in, Hendo came in, Colt Carlisle, Springy, Ben Foster was new to the game as well, and then an experienced head with Malky Mackay. Is that what you kind of needed that season, just to throw lots of people in who got points to prove this season?
I think it's a mix. I think that people did have a point to prove. All quality players, and then just building on the squad that was initially there, right? But I think obviously Aiton was the driving force of, because you can have a group of people together, but my time, I always say, like, my time at Watford was one of the best for me, because just that group, that bond, like everyone was together. I remember listening to a podcast or an interview like Dan Shitu done, and I think he was saying, like, listen, guys that are not playing, you're the most important, because because normally when you're not playing, it's like you're just on the bench thinking, I want him, well, maybe you not want him to lose, but I don't want him to play well, because I want to play
take your spot.
all the managers, like, I want him to get a sack or something like that. You know what I mean? And I think that, especially young, as you get older, it's not really like that. But when you're young, you just want to play. And a lot of the times managers didn't really give reasons for not playing. Yeah. So for me, it was just that bond that was like so strong. Like we'd go out and like have events, go out for drinks and that kind of stuff. So just the bond of the team was so strong.
close knit. I think Marlon touched upon that when we interviewed him. He just said it was just a special unit. It's just everyone just built into the ideas, and he's not experienced that anywhere else where he went in his career.
Oh, even we had a sports psychologist. His name will come in, Keith Mincher. So he basically came in and was kind of like a sports psychologist, but not in a way where it was like just he had his own room and like you'd sit down on one-to-one. It was like just you'd speak to him on a training field or you'd speak to him in the dressing room and that kind of stuff. And then him and Aidy would like break the season down into like 6-game compartments. So then in those 6 games, you'd say, okay, how many points are you going to get out of those 6 games? Everyone would agree on a point system. And then they say, okay, I think the first one was like, if you reach, I don't know, 15 points or something like that, you'll get like a PlayStation and a TV for the games room. And then we kept doing it. And then every time it was getting more and more. And I think one of the ones was, okay, then if we win, if we get the accumulation of points, we get a trip to Dubai for international break. And I think the winner, we got it when we beat Coventry away. I think it was 3-0. And Marlon King scored, and one of his celebrations was like pretending to be on the deck chair. So just stuff like that where everyone was accountable. And they'll do things like we'd have meetings on a Monday and everyone's name on a big piece of white paper was all around like our meeting room. And it would be like broken down on what you did well. Like, so say Jordan Stewart, what he did well, what he could have done better. And then everyone else is going to each other's paper and then doing what they've done. So it's like, no one's talking behind each other's back. It's like literally there. And then you'd go to your paper and you'd be like, yeah, I agree with this or I disagree with this. So there's accountability like all across the board, which was, I've never experienced that anywhere else. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you can have cliques or someone's like, oh yeah, he's not doing his job. But at that time it was like, it's on the board there. This is what the whole team didn't think he did well. So like, you can't be like, nah, it's the manager's talking crap. So that was, for me, that was, and I've never had nothing like that. And like, when it comes to like man management, like if I was to ever like do coaching and that kind of stuff, I would try and implement that, even though I'd never want to be a coach, but if I did.
If you was forced into it.
Yeah, exactly. If I was offered a lot of money.
Exactly. In that particular season, I'm sort of maybe jumping ahead a little bit. Was there a particular game that season where you thought, okay, this is it, like we're the real deal now, like we're going up?
Nothing that springs to mind. I think it was just a case of like what I touched on before, where it was we knew if we just, especially when we was breaking it down into those 6 games, we knew if we was hitting those markers, then we'd know we was on the right path to get promotion. And then it was just like just belief really, and just when you just have like I said, our squad, and just like knowing that we just rolling with the momentum, we just like going on. We knew we was going to be successful, and probably, I don't know, towards the back end. And then even when we got in the playoffs, I think when we beat Palace away, we was like, and even when we went into final, like Leeds was still favourite, but in our minds, like the game was like we'd already won.
Yeah, let's fast forward even more to a playoff final then, which you just talked about. A lot of former players have said about you won the game in the tunnel.
Yeah, it's a done deal. It's a done deal.
You was looking across to the Leeds opposition in the tunnel, and I think they were shitting their pants, weren't they?
So during the playoffs, another thing that Aidy and Keith Mincher did was they'd done like this big collage of like different people scoring goals, tackles, and all that kind of stuff. So we'd have a meeting before the games, and then they'd play this video. Is about, I don't know, like 7-8 minutes long, and then afterwards, like it'd be like, come on, let's do what we need to do. Get to the stadium, and then you'd have like a speaker, and it'd be like all these different quotes from like, I don't know, Gladiator, Any Given Sunday, like all these little things, and then show obviously the people scoring goals and all that. So we was gassed, we was like hyped before the game, and we'd all be like saying like work time, and then before every game we'd have a circle, and then one player would do the speech, and it'd be a different person each time. But you'd have some players that don't like to talk or just more reserved. But even they would do it because they knew that as a squad, no one's going to be laughing and that. Like, it was just, okay, let's say your piece and then we're still backing you. So, yeah, before the game, and then we went in the tunnel. I remember it was just like, I think there's clips where you just all you hear is like, work time, let's go, boys. And like the Leeds guys are like looking over us and like, what, these guys are crazy. But like from there, like we knew just by doing that kind of stuff and like looking at them and seeing how they're reacting, that the game was already won. And we done that all throughout the season. And it's amazing. Like, and obviously you have fires, and I think Tyson mentioned it before, when he go into a ring and then he look into the person's eyes, he knew right there and then that the soul was destroyed just by how he was. So I think things like that where people don't really know helped us a lot for sure.
What were the celebrations like that night? I imagine it was quite messy.
Put it this way, if you look at that the picture where it's got like winners, playoff winners, I'm not even in it. Because I'm already in the changing room, like drinking the champagne.
Oh yeah.
So it's funny because by the time we left, got on the coach, I was already drunk. Like, we got back on the coach and then we was going back to the hotel. So we went back to the hotel and then we had like a big dinner. And then obviously players that was with their wives and their kids was kind of like staying local. And the rest of all the single guys were like, we're going out in Cardiff. And everyone's like, yeah. So we hired a bus, went out in Cardiff, just got absolutely bladdered. And then obviously the next day, everyone's all like just quiet on the bus because everyone's just hungover. So yeah, it was good times.
I can't imagine the scene. Some of the players, like you got Kingy, you got Youngie, Hendo. That must have been some absolute madness of a night, man.
It was just like, even like just when we got back in the change room, there's like champers flying everywhere and like mixing that. And I think Carling was like one of the sponsors, so there's Carling. And I didn't even drink beer back then. Yeah. So I'm like, just imagine like playing 9 minutes, you're dehydrated, and you're just back in like champagne, beer.
First thing you have.
It's like, it's not like, oh, here's a protein shake. It's like, where's the champagne?
Sounds like my Sunday league career, that does. So obviously it was a brilliant outcome for all of us there. I mean, but that was 2006. I was I think 6 years old. So like, even for me back then, it was crazy. So obviously we got to the Premier League. You were a Premier League player once more, the first time since 03-04 season. How did that make you feel? Like, surely the sense of pride must have been like,
because that's ultimately when you're a pro footballer, that's what you want to play in the best league, right? And the best league was the Prem, and obviously you're playing against all these great names, like all these great teams. Arsenal's, Man U's, Chelsea was coming back into the fold. So for me, it was great, but it's just, I think why we maybe one of the reasons we got relegated is because I felt like AD kind of like changed his tactics a bit.
Okay.
Where it was like, it was more going for like stats of, okay, then let's get the ball in the final third, and 67% of goals have come from like throw-ins or corners in the final third. So we got hung on like just putting it in the corner. Like even on the training pitches, we'd have like where the sidelines were, we'd have like a 8-yard like dotted line. It was called like Quality Street. And every time, like, say me as a left back got the ball, it's like, okay, put it in like Quality Street, like with a bit of bend or like with a bit of backspin. Or if the center midfielders are wanting to like put in the horseshoe, which was basically the corner flag, and like 10 yards and like done a little arc. And that was like putting the horseshoe. So literally it was like, we went from, and obviously in Championship, we was a bit direct with like Hendo and obviously Kingy, but in the Prem, people are smart, like defenders are smart and that kind of thing. So it got to a stage where I think one game I remember we was playing Arsenal. I remember I got the ball and I've obviously like put it down Quality Street, and Henri's like looked at me, it's like, why you play like this? Why you not play football? I was like, hey, if I don't do this, I'm not playing. So I don't want to play like this, but that's what the manager wants. So I think that was kind of like, one of the downfalls, because like people knew what he was going to do, so they just like dropped off and just got the ball and just played around us. So it was good in the sense of like being in the Prem, but I think we could have done things like better to kind of had a better chance to stay in the Prem for sure.
I think at the start of the season we signed Chris Powell as well, and the vastly experienced left back. Was this like you thinking, oh, he's coming in to take my spot, or I can learn a lot from him?
No, to me, like it like at the stage, it was obviously you want to play, but ultimately you want to do what's best for the team, right? So if Pauli was coming in and the gaffer picked him ahead of me and he was playing well, then I got no qualms, you know what I mean? And Pauli was a guy that would kind of like be teaching me stuff, and he wouldn't be like, I'm taking your spot and I'm not going to give you like no knowledge or nothing like that. He was always, because he was older than me, he'd always like give me knowledge and that kind of stuff. So there was never, with me and Pauli, there was never no like bitterness there or anything like that. It was kind of like whoever's playing is playing, and then the other person will help them along or just be ready to play. So that was kind of our relationship. So there was never no knocking on AD's door, be like, why not playing kind of thing.
I was sorry for him on his debut for Watford, wasn't it? Away to Everton, and the ball hit his chest and they gave a penalty or something.
Yeah, well, there's no VAR back then, you know what I mean?
Well, exactly. During the Premier League campaign, you were linked with a move to Rangers. Was that just paper talk, or was there any truth in that?
No, it's true. Because I was linked when I was at Leicester, and Bassett kind of squashed that. And I've another long story. But then when I was at Watford, I was coming into my I think was that the final year of my contract, or I had like a year left or something like that. And I think we briefly talked, me and Aiton, and I think the first contract like we didn't get agreed. So I think obviously back then agents and like teams talk and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was definitely true.
Interesting.
Was it close, or was it just that?
No, it never got to like
just interest.
It was just interest,
yeah.
And for whatever reason, that's all it stayed at.
You played 31 times for Watford in the Prem. Had it involved much since the time you played there for Leicester? I know it was just a short period of time, but did it involve much? Well, maybe for agree with the long throws.
I think every year, even now, like just it gets better and better, right? Just better players come in, more tactics, like different managers with different ideas. So I think every year, and obviously there's more money being pumped into the league, so you can invest in whatever way, whether it's backroom staff, like scouting, players, stadiums. So I think every time you have a chance to play in the Prem, obviously each year is going to get better. So for me, I was just happy to be in the Prem, but just like I said, it was kind of I was happy, but just the way we was playing, I wasn't happy with, if that makes sense. I don't know if that translated through to the fans, but just me personally, I thought we could have done, even if it was to go down, just do it in a better way than just kind of the way he was going with the long ball scenario.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned obviously, unfortunately, the short periods of time which were in the Premier League did only last for one season. We obviously, as you said, we sort of come out of nowhere the season before to go up. Quite a start to the 07-08 season for you. Now, I remember I was in Blackpool on holiday and I was watching this game in the pub with my dad, and I think we was behind to Wolves, and then you've just sort of pulled out this pile driver from 25, 30 yards. And
we'll say 30. We'll say 30.
Yeah, we'll say 30. Yeah. We'll go 35 if you want. We'll meet you halfway.
No.
So it's gone in. I mean, that's surely that's the best goal you've scored, right? I've not seen the one against City that you scored, the other goal that you've got, but
I've scored a few bangers. Scored a few. My best goal was probably when I was at Derby against Sheffield Wednesday, I think it was.
Okay.
Like probably about 30 yards.
Yeah.
like zinged it top corner. And it was a night out. We was gonna have our Christmas party afterwards. So
even better then. Yeah.
It's a good way to end the game for sure.
Absolutely. What was the celebration about? Obviously, we saw that celebration against Wolves. I've watched the clip back. What was that all about?
So there was a song out at the time called "I'm Crispy." And that was his dance moves where he was like,
right.
So I remember saying like anytime I was gonna score, that was gonna be the celebrations. And the thing is, the week going into that, like, because normally you do set pieces and all that kind of stuff, and I was never on set plays, but we had this kicking coach come in that was I think he'd done like kicking coaching for like rugby players, but then Aiton wanted to come in because I don't know the exact reason, but he had this guy coming anyway. So he was showing us how to like just how to hit the ball and kind of like get more velocity on it. So like me and like Aiton Mariappa, Dan Shitu, we used to like after training like do like free kicks, like mess around and that, and obviously try and like do the knuckleball and that. So I remember it was far out, and I can't remember who I told. I was like, I'm just gonna take a shot. And the bench was probably thinking, what's he doing?
Was he standing over it?
Was he lining up like the wall or something?
Was there a deflection on it? Because still to this day, people...
There's a slight deflection off, I think it was Jay Boothroyd.
I'd be claiming that
off his shoulder. But it's still going in.
Exactly, yeah. You still got the goal. It wasn't an own goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
He just veered more towards the top bin.
Now, you alluded to a little bit a minute ago, obviously, with the contract talks. You couldn't really agree with AD, but unfortunately, in 2008, your time with Watford did come to an early end, and you agreed that your contract could end, and that allowed you to then join Derby County. Was it a case of needing a fresh challenge elsewhere? Is that why you moved on?
Well, because at the start of that season, when we went down, obviously me and AD was in talks, and then it'd be like, Jordan, come to my office like after, like, let's have a talk. So go to his office and he like hand me the contract. And obviously I'm a left back, like I'm not played a lot of games for the club, not expecting to like be top earner or Marlon King or Joby McEnough money kind of stuff like that, but just saying where I felt like it was just so he'd come to me and like I'd be like, hey, this is not gonna work. So it's like, okay then, like get back to me. So then a couple months later, Jordan come and see me, and he went on like that for about 3-4 months. And then I think the last time I was like, hey, let's just wait to end the season, because just coming back and forth, it's just going to create more friction. Let's just wait to the end of the season and then just see where we're both at. And then he was like, okay. And then I think he brought in Matt Sadler. And then I remember we was playing, I think he was playing Scunthorpe away. And Friday you're doing all shape and all that kind of stuff. And then I wasn't in the starting 11. So I was pissed.
Yeah. No, rightly so.
I was pissed. I was like, so I went to see him. I was like, AD, like, what's the reason? Like I'm not playing, not starting. He's like, well, I gotta start preparing for next season, and obviously you haven't signed the contract. I was like, yeah, but we already mentioned that we're gonna wait to the end of the season. He's like, yeah, but I gotta rebuild. And I was like, well, so you're not playing him ahead of me on merit, on like he's done better, you're just playing because you want to start evolving for next season. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
No.
So it's probably best like I don't travel. And he's like, well, what if he gets injured? And I was like, yeah, I understand that, but if you've already just told me it's for next year, then obviously I've got to look after myself because I'm in the last year of my contract. So he's like, okay, then go home for the weekend and then we'll kind of discuss. I think we was having the Monday off, so Tuesday we'll talk about it. And I remember I went home on the weekend, and Monday, because everyone was off anyway, the drug people come in, and I wasn't there, so I got a warning from the drug people. So I think you only needed 2 within 2 years, and you get like banned. So obviously I was pissed about that as well.
Yeah.
So Tuesday comes, he's like, listen, I had to think about it, and obviously talked before that we're looking to evolve for next year, and the contract you was last offered, that's the best we can do. So I was like, oh, okay, like no problem. He's like, you can come in and train, or you can just kind of like just relax at home and then just see what happens. So I said, I'm just gonna wait at home. So yeah, agents started ringing clubs, and then because Derby County wanted to sign me in January.
Oh,
and,
okay.
like, Paul Jewell rang me and was trying to get the deal done before 5 o'clock. But they couldn't get the deal done. I don't know if a lot of people knew that, but didn't get the deal done.
Deadline day, was it?
Yeah, and I think for me, I weren't that fussed because I think it was the year that they got the least amount of points in the Premier League.
Yeah, escape maybe.
So it would have been good. It would have been good to play more games in the Prem, but like I didn't mind waiting till to the end of the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, just spoke to them again, and then done the deal. And it was a case of new club, like 3-year deal. So for me, it was kind of I had that stability. So yeah, it worked out. I would have liked to stay at Watford, but sometimes that's just business, right? Like the club have a certain amount that they want to spend or need to spend on each position, and we just couldn't agree that terms. Like it wasn't any bad feeling towards 80 or anything like that, because when I moved over here, I had him be one of my references to get my green card and that. So I've never had like a bad feeling towards 80. It's just literally just business. So it's just one of them things, and fortunately I got the opportunity to go to another team. So.
Yeah, well, just before we move on to some quick-fire questions, I mentioned earlier we've spoken to Marlon King on the podcast before, and usually we get listeners to send in questions, but this time we mix it up a little bit, and Ben asked Marlon for any questions or stories that he may have on you. I can see your face; you're sort of just dropping as I'm saying this at the moment. To be fair though, he's give you quite a glowing reference, Jordan. He said great character, life of the party and dressing room, a very good player, and you can always rely on him. But he did send 2 questions. Now, Ben, do you want to fire Jordan the first question that Marlon asked?
Yeah, sure, no problem. He wanted to know, did you buy a Lambo before we got promoted and the wages went up? Because when you boys travelled back to the training ground from at London Colney, back from Cardiff, there was a Lambo delivered. Is that correct, Jordan?
No, was it a Lambo? Was it a Lambo? I don't know if it was a Lambo or a Porsche, but it might have been a Lambo, because Carlos Saba was the guy that brought it down for me, and I remember him. I wanted it wrapped like matte black, so it looked like the Batmobile.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I was getting the car before we got promoted. Obviously young, like stupid, like just single, just okay, I want a nice car. And then I was speaking to Carlos Saba because I knew him before, and he was getting into the car business and kind of like getting good deals. So yeah, I purchased a Lamborghini Gallardo with a tube exhaust in a matte black. And if you go to Watford training ground, obviously not now, but I don't know if it's still there. You had like a long driveway. So I remember, and there was no like speed bumps and everything. So I just get in the car, just go. Yeah, that was my wild years.
Did you get a lot of stick from the boys when they turned up off the coach and there was a Lambo there?
Yeah, of course. And it probably is another reason. Probably Eddie didn't want to give me no money because he probably thought I already had it.
Yeah, he thought he don't need no money. He's got a Lambo on the front here,
yeah,
matte black Lambo. Yeah.
Eddie's driving in like just a normal Mercedes, like C-Class company car, and I'm rolling like 26 with a Lambo. So he probably thought I don't need it.
And the other question he's asked is, who's the better dancer, you or Maps?
Oh, me, 100%.
Ooh, like that. love that.
Even Maps will tell you.
Yeah.
Maps will tell you. The only person that I would say that might be better than me is Lee Williamson.
Oh right, okay. I didn't expect his name to crop up. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's
Yeah, Willow can dance. Willow
Yeah.
can dance.
Yeah. Well,
I got no moves no more, man. I'm into a nightclub or nothing, you know what I mean? So
yeah. I'm out of practice as well. I keep telling myself that anyway. On a side note, actually, with Mariappa, he's made his 50th cap for Jamaica tonight. I think they're playing against USA.
Yeah,
so,
they're playing against USA, you know.
Yeah. Fair play
What's
to
the
him.
score?
I think it was 0-0 when we started recording. But I think USA were all over him. So, yeah, hopefully it's stayed respectable. I thought you'd be more in touch with that side, living in California at the moment, Jordan.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
To be fair, like, just when it comes to like international games, I watch them now and then. But most of the time, I just like I watch the Prem games on a weekend because over here
And
on
Watford, obviously.
NBCSN,
Yeah.
they, to be fair, they don't show like a lot of the championship games.
No, yeah.
It's all like Prem games on NBCSN. The only good thing is they show like all the games. You know, like in England, you have to wait till match of the day comes on at night.
Yeah.
Whereas in over here, they show all the games. I had a chance to play for Jamaica as well when I think I was at just as I signed for Derby.
Oh, okay.
They wanted me to sign, but I remember I hear a bunch of not sign, but to represent them. But I heard like a bunch of stories that when players would go in, there was like no balls. Like,
do you know what
they
I
didn't know
heard?
training, anything like that. So I was just like, why am I traveling all this way for that? Getting back on a Thursday, and you know what it was like back then? It was like if you play for your country and you come back on a Thursday, the coach didn't want to play on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Because you got jet lag or whatever, and because it was far. So I was like, I didn't want to jeopardize playing for my club.
Yeah, big risk.
Going to playing for Jamaica, and I think just at the time they just wasn't at the stage of where it was kind of like run correctly.
Yeah, I briefly remember, we going a bit off topic here, but briefly remember watching an Instagram live with Marlon King and Danny Haynes, and I think Marlon was pretty much saying what you said. The sort of facilities that you went when you went to Jamaica, just non-existent compared to the rest of people. So on the other side note, they're currently losing 2-1 to USA, unfortunately.
Okay.
Right, we got some quick fire questions that we're gonna end on. I'm gonna start. So, trickiest winger you've ever played against?
Pires.
Ooh.
Yeah. I remember we played them. I was at Leicester. We was playing 3-5-2. I was playing wing back, and it was at Highbury, obviously tight stadium, and they had Lauren and Pires. I remember coming in at half time, and I felt that dizzy. I had to put my boots just in cold water, and the physio was giving me jelly babies. So yeah, for me. That's the best player I've played against. Obviously, there's Henry in that, but just me face to face is Pires for sure. Even more than Cristiano, because I felt like Cristiano during that time, he had the tricks in that, but he wasn't as effective as Pires.
Still learning his trade.
Exactly, yeah.
What's the hardest side that you've came against, physically wise?
Oh, physically, I don't know, maybe like a Stoke, something like that. It's just like the land of giants. Like everyone was like 6'1", 6'2", like the lap just launching balls in from every angle. Like it was constant. Like you just play Stoke and it's like you already knew. It was like, I know what this is gonna be like. And it was horrible, man. It was just horrible games to play in. Yeah. It was just launching balls, like Sidibe and like who was the other guy there at front?
They didn't have Adi Akinboy back then as well, did they?
I think he was there, but obviously I was with Adi at Leicester, strongest man ever.
Oh mate, he's absolutely
strongest man in football I've ever known.
Yeah, even I don't know if you played with Akinfenwa, but he's a big guy. Surely
he's a big guy, but if you look at like AD, like he's got power and speed.
Okay.
So like he's agile, But when I mean this, I remember I was at Leicester and we played Derby County, and it all went off after the game. And Eddie's in there, and there's the tunnel just going side to side. And like, so I think someone tried to like grab him, and he just grabbed him back, and the guy couldn't move.
Jesus. Brave man. Who would you say the best player you've played with in your career is, in your career and at Watford as well? Unless it's the same person.
In Korea, I would say Muzzy is it, when I was at Leicester. And then at Watford, Ashley Young.
Yeah, quality player.
Yeah, and then you can see from what he's done following Watford, you know what I mean? He's always evolved, and even now at Inter Milan, like left foot, right foot, could play left wing, right wing, up top, in the hole, like technique, like he looks so slight, but so fast, and just got like his feet are just like incredible. And on top of that, just like super nice guy.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'd say Youngie without a shadow of that.
What a career he's had as well. He's actually linked with a move back to Watford in the summer. He's actually, I think he's came out and said that he wants to come back to England and finish his career with Watford. So
yeah, I know. I did an interview with him on the show that we do, Vova, and he was mentioning like he didn't know what was going to happen at the end of the year. Obviously, you hope that they won the league, and then you'd kind of assess it from there. But if he does, fingers crossed. Get back to the Vic. Get them shirt sales going.
That'll be through the roof. Favorite ground to play at?
Pardon?
Favorite ground to play at?
Probably say Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Even though it's like one of the worst places to go, especially when like we was playing them back then, because I hardly had the ball, but just the atmosphere, and like when they scored, like just I remember when Ruud van Nistelrooy scored one goal, and I'll never forget it. And all you heard was just like Ruud, and it was just like echoing like 75,000 people just like saying this. Is just like, yeah, it was an intimidating like place to go, but yeah, you can't beat atmospheres like that. You got so many people, like it's crazy.
Yeah,
time.
tough to beat. Quickest player you've played against and with?
Quickest player I've played against would probably be Gabby Igbonaho.
Oh yeah, rapid he was.
Rapid.
Yeah.
He was because he was at Watford as well when
that's right.
When I was there, so it might be Gabby again there. But speed beyond belief, like that, like speed like Adama Traore, where it's just like but obviously because Adama Traore plays on a wing, you see it more, whereas Gabby was playing up top. But speed was just. I remember one time I was at Watford, we played Villa at home, and there was a break, and I think it was off a corner. And I'm obviously running. I was not the fastest, but fast enough. And he was just, boom. My head's just like, at Watford, and Youngie was up there. Youngie was quick. I think when we always done like the 40-yard tests and all that, Youngie was there. Surprisingly, Kingy was up there as well. Anthony McNamee. And then I'll tell you who's up there, you would be surprised. Hendo,
okay.
On the 40-yard sprints. I don't know if it's like the way he opens his gate or whatever, but he was always up there, and I was like, "What's going on here?" Like, I was like, "He's cheating. He's doing something."
Intimidation.
yeah, exactly. He probably told the person on the clock, he's probably intern, is like, "You best like, you best change some numbers."
Who's the worst trainer that you've had during the week, but he would turn it on a match day and be like the best player on the pitch? Did you have one of those? Because I've heard people say like Carlos Tevez for Man United. He was dreadful during the week training, but match day, he was unbelievable. Was anyone that you've played with similar to that?
I'm trying to think who comes to mind. Let me think. I'm trying to think who. I'll tell you. I'll tell you, goalie Ian Walker. Like this guy was the. He would just come in the morning like no matter whether like shorts, flip flops, like shades, just chill, and then we do like shooting practice after, and he just sometimes he just wouldn't even die for it. So it got to the stage of like we was like Walks just go in, like just bring in like the reserve goalkeeper and the third string to like, because obviously they're gonna try and save him. So I think when it comes to like goalies and that, I'd probably say like Walks was up there, but in a game he was lights out all the time. So yeah, I'd probably say Walks. Anyone else didn't really like toss it off as much, because most of the time when you have people like that, they don't last, especially at my standard. Obviously the Man U's and that, they can,
they can get away with
money.
it.
They're getting big money, so you can't just move them on. But kind of like the level I was playing at, if you did that, you'd be on your bike anyway. So they never lasted.
It's funny you mentioned.
Who is the worst trainer at Watford?
Ooh.
And we hope they don't listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Who was the worst? And that's the thing, because we had a good squad of players who kind of like never.
I get the impression that Boothroyd wouldn't let you be sort of naffing training.
He wouldn't. I feel like King, out of anyone, Kingy got the longest leash out of everybody. Like sometimes if he weren't feeling it, like the gaffer would just like not say nothing. You know what I mean? So he definitely had the longest leash out of all of us. Because hey, when you're goal scoring, you're banging in goals. That's what happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. You could turn up and do it. It's funny you mentioned Ian Walker, because my next question was, who's the best goalkeeper you've played with?
I've had some goalkeepers as well. I've had like Tim Flowers, Ian Walker, Ben Foster.
Yeah, Fuzzy's class.
Mark Poon, Derby.
Oh, he was good at Watford.
Even before, like Casey Keller at Leicester.
Casey Keller, God, yeah, that name rings. Some difficult players to nail down there, isn't it?
I probably, I think for all round, like I'd probably have to say Fuzzy.
Yeah.
Just for like his kicking ability in there. And Walks would kind of be a close second. But I just think Fuzzy could he could hit the same ball as Walks, but further.
Yeah.
Like he had a bigger leg on him, and he was still agile, even though he was a big goalkeeper. And we always used to tease him because he had a huge head. But he could still get down and like save balls and that kind of stuff. So I probably have to say Fuzzy.
Who do you reckon, in your opinion, is the best left back in the world right now?
Whew. Jeez, that's tough.
We've not given you easy ones, have we?
Yeah. It's because you're not playing, any Jordan. Otherwise, you'd say yourself, man. You got to back yourself, any.
When I was growing up, I had Ashley Cole in front of me, so
wow.
I was never going to be number one. I don't know, man.
How about the Prem, man? In the Prem right now, because you say you watch Premier League football still.
Yeah, obviously you got like Robinson, and even like Luke Shaw now is like is in great form. You know what I mean? Because it's tough, because there's so many aspects, right? Some people might say someone like Robertson because gets forward and can obviously like whip in a great ball and that. But I don't know who's the better defender. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's tough because the left back role has evolved so much over the years. It's not just
so different. You know what I mean? Like I said before, like with me, it was most of the time with left backs, it was stay in your hole and kind of like wait for your opportunities to kind of like go forward. Or if the right back's gone, make sure you stay as a 3. Whereas now it's kind of both you guys push on, and we have like a holding midfielder that would be the three. Worst case scenario, we show them wide. So it's definitely changed over the years. I'd rather be playing now for sure. I'll probably get more assists and a few more goals. I don't know. I'd probably, because I used to think Chilwell was good at Leicester, but I think defending wise, he seemed a bit not suspect, but just not as good defending wise. So at the minute I'll probably say sure, just in current form.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. The player that's probably surprised you the most, like you thought he's better than I expected him to be.
What, played with or just in general?
Played with.
I'd probably say at Watford, yeah?
Yeah.
Let me think. I'd probably say Springy. Because like I just knew he was just like midfielder, like thought he was just like a hardworking like midfielder, like box to box kind of thing. But then when you train with him and like his technique and like his passing, like how he can just like hit diags, just left foot, right foot, and then obviously some of the goals that he scored as well along the way.
Oh, yeah.
I'll probably say Springate for sure. And he's quiet. He's a quiet guy, so you know, he's always normally the quiet guys you really forget about, and then when you see him do certain things in training, like, oh yeah, Spring is decent.
Well,
I'll probably say Springate.
Yeah, it wasn't easy for him either coming, being an ex-Luton player as well. And I think he hit the ground running when he came to Watford, didn't he? He didn't phase him at all.
He's a good player, like really good player. And I think that was probably another reason because of where he'd come from, right? I don't know what division it was in at the time, but he come in and he done really well. He's like obviously he's one of the mainstays that played most of the games. You know what I mean?
Now, the last one is the biggest joker. I know Marlon said that you probably was, but other than yourself, who would you say the biggest joker in the changing room was? I'd imagine there's a few suspects for this one.
It was just, we had like every day going into training, it was just banter, like non-stop, from what people was wearing, like to just out on the training field, like just it was pure banter. And it was like, because it was like me, Maps, Anthony McNamee, Kingy, Hendo, Jaden Merritt, Malky. So one person, I don't know, it's tough. Because I was probably the most clanny guy, like and I'm still the same. Never growing up. But other than me, let me think. Even the kit man.
Yeah.
Like Bob like was this funny guy.
Big Bob.
Richard Collins, the physio. That's a tough one. I'll probably say, well, the person that would give the most like stick to people and that kind of stuff would probably be Kingy or Youngie. Them two was kind of like, if someone was wearing something they thought was rascal, they would be the guys that would say, or if someone was like shooting and like the missile he was, ew.
Yeah,
just silly things like that. So I'll probably say them two. Them two together. And I think they roomed together as well, so it was even worse.
Yeah, I can imagine. I thought those were the
Gavin Mann as well, but Gavin was more subtle.
Yeah,
Gavin Mann, he would say something and be like, Jordan, what are you wearing? Like,
you actually played with him later on in your career, didn't you? Was you at Notts County? Was it together? Yeah.
And Notts County, because I left Millwall I'd done my hamstring and like the physios there was garbage. So I was out like for the whole season. We did basically like a grade 2 tear on my hamstring.
Jesus.
Long story short, just ended up leaving there, and then couldn't get a team, and then Gav was like, "I'll come to Notts County. It's only down the road." So I was like, I think that was in like a September. So yeah, like me and him used to travel in together. He didn't make me pay petrol money, so
Even better, even better. Well, just before we do wrap up this interview, what does life consist of now for Jordan Stewart? What are you doing after football? I know you've retired now, so what is it you're doing at the moment? You still got your clothing business with Jolie and Lescott?
Nah, we stopped that. Just costing too much money, having to put more money in like every year. And then obviously just sitting on inventory, and if it doesn't sell, then it's just you might as well just burn the whole thing down, right? So yeah, stop that. Like I retired 2017 and just kind of like took 2 years off, just playing football for like almost 20 years professionally. It's like I just wanted to just relax. Obviously, was daddy daycare at home with the little one, and then decided someone that's been outside all the time was like, I can't just keep doing this. I can't keep just changing nappies and that kind of thing. So I spoke to my friend Nick Swinman, who's super entrepreneurial, like done a bunch of startups, including like Zappos, shareholding the Warriors. So he started doing a few concepts that I've been involved with. One is a at-home dozen boxing app, basically like boxing, strength conditioning, resistance band work. And then our latest one is called Vova. So it's basically a platform for short form shows or like podcasts. So say for instance, you would go on there, this show would go on there, and instead of like an hour or whatever podcast, it might be just like a 10-minute quick fire, like this end part, this quick fire round, and that would be put on the platform then. So I've got my own show on there, Slim Zilla Daily. So I've had a couple like different soccer players or footballers, Tim Howard, Youngie. I had Dave Cotchell on yesterday talking about like mental health and that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just trying to stay busy, stay active, and obviously trying to use my personality in a good way.
Absolutely. Well, Jordan, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I really do appreciate it. I know you wasn't at Watford very long, but you've certainly given us some stories, and it's been brilliant chatting to you. So I really do appreciate it, and I hope you do stay safe in these current weird times.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm hoping by summer, because obviously, you know, the Cali sunshine, you know what I mean? I need to get, even I'm looking a bit pale.
Yeah, no, hopefully for us as well. You know, the pub's calling my name for definite. So
yeah, I know, man.
Yeah.
I'm drinking more red wine inside, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
yeah, no, I can preach you on that one, absolutely. But yeah, no, listen, Jordan, it's been absolutely superb. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for having me, man.
No problem.